Hello, everyone. How are you doing? And welcome to another episode of the Dr. Will Show, where I interview educators and entrepreneurs on leveling up. Each episode, I zoom in someone who's dope, and we just have a conversation on what it means to live your best life. Today, I have with me back again, Mallory Mack. She is a Microsoft learning consultant. Before she was on the show, we really talked about Microsoft EDU in the classroom. And as you know, on this program now, we've been talking about educators getting that money and how when you decide whether you want to do a side hustle, doing some consulting, or you're thinking, my time has come in K through 12, so what's next for me? And those of us who particularly have my job, we come across a lot of programs like what Mallory does, where the school pays for them people to come in and do all of these trainings. And I was thinking, wow, you have a lot of great teachers, and Mallory's over there shaking her head, who they're doing wonderful things in the classroom with these tools. And I'm thinking this will be a great opportunity for them to make that transition. So Mallory is so dope. I love your name. I was telling my wife last night, I said her name is so awesome. For those who did not see the first episode, will you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Mallory Mack. Like you said, I'm a Microsoft learning consultant. Before that, I was a classroom teacher. I taught social studies, and I finished up my career teaching computer applications and computer programming and digital media. So made it kind of a switch there within my school that I was working in.
So I see the shirt right now, MIE. I am an certified MIE. Those are some cool shirts, by the way.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I saw them at ISTE looking all nice. And if you didn't go to ISTE, Microsoft showed out, people. It was such a display of awesomeness. What is a Microsoft Learning Consultant? How did you get there from teaching in the classroom?
So the way I like to explain the Microsoft Learning Consultant program is Microsoft saw that they were lacking in this education space, right? So they were getting beat bad, and we all know that. What they realized what they were doing wrong is they were sending in corporate trainers or salespeople into the schools to talk to educators about how this stuff looks in education. And, as teachers, as educators, we know, we can smell BS from a mile away. So what they realized is that they needed a more authentic voice in this space. So they recruited teachers from the classroom who had used Microsoft, who are Microsoft fans, to come into this position and then go into the schools and create more fans and create an understanding of how it looks, coming from that authentic place.
So how did you get started?
So the way I got started with this, I had moved to California. I was looking for teaching jobs. I was kind of in this space where, I like teaching, but it's a ton of work. I don't have that great work-life balance that I was really wanting. But I love teaching. So, I was applying for teaching jobs, and that wasn't quite working out. I wasn't finding anything that was a great fit. So I just went on Indeed and typed in education in my area, and it came up with all different things. So higher ed, lots of corporate training positions, and then this position, which, is essentially a corporate trainer, but in the education space, which I have this specialized knowledge for. I was like, I can't believe this job is real. There's got to be some type of catch, but I applied, interviewed. It was like the perfect match, and that's how that began.
So please describe the work that you do and what makes someone a great learning consultant or a trainer.
So what we do, first thing that we would do is contact a district or a school talk to the principal, IT directors, superintendent, or lead teacher. So any, level of leadership, we talk to them. We do a lot of listening. So I'll ask, how are you using technology in your district or at your school? They'll explain. Sometimes I'll go into classrooms and see what they're doing and how they're using it. And then from there, kind of make a needs assessment. So I see you're doing PLCs this way. What do you think about using Microsoft Teams to do a PLC? You can add websites, you can add data, you can add audio clips, you can have conversations with each other before you get in the same room so that when you get there, we're doing meaningful work. We've already gone over the data. We don't get that much time to actually work together and make learning better for our kids. So let's do some stuff on the back end in Teams. And then when we actually meet in person, we're doing real meaningful work. How does that sound? Right. And so they'll say, yeah, I love it. I'll show them a couple different tools. And then from there, if they're interested, what we'll do is do staff training, get the staff all trained on it, and then just provide support as they, get better at using it more, and then hopefully branching out and using some of our other tools as well. Once they're kind of ingrained in the Microsoft ecosystem. Some other great things that we do, our wider education team here in San Diego, and actually in all of our markets that our learning consultants are in, provide some unique programs. One that I love, it's called Trial in a Box. What that is they will send your school 2 student devices. The student devices are under $300. They are touchscreen, they're durable. It's a full-blown laptop. You can have software on it. You can try it, use it, try Office 365, and then no matter what direction you decide to go with technology, you can keep the devices. So I would say the biggest piece of this job is just providing information to people. So, hey, here's some solutions. Whatever decision you decide to make that's best for your school, I'm sure you know better than me, but I just want you to know what exists here. So that's the purpose. That's the kind of work that I do.
Since you brought that up, I want to throw this out there to you. I just recently, within the week, saw an article of a Surface Go that is coming out. So it's going to be in that $3-something $100 range. What do you think about that being a part of the schools? Because as you know, one of the reasons that made Google so popular was that Chromebooks were very inexpensive, and then school districts were able to truly buy them in mass. Whereas PCs, they're a little more affordable, but again, $500 a little bit, and Mac was just ridiculous. What do you think about that device at that price point now being available to schools, or will be available to schools?
So I'm not a device specialist, so just know that everything I say here is my opinion only. The Surface Go, I think there's probably better devices for students. If you want to do a Surface Go or a Surface Pro or whatever it is for teachers, I've got a Surface Pro myself. I love it because I'm able to digital ink on it. So I'll pull up an article, I can write on it, annotate, highlight, save it into my OneNote, email it out right from the browser. And I use that constantly. So I think the Surfaces might be better for teachers just because talking to IT people, I know that kids can do a number on the devices. So you want to get one that is really durable and is built for, kind of that distress that it goes through as students share them.
Okay, cool. Because I remember the first time you were on the show and you were talking about the Surface Pro, and then I actually saw you using it in action, and I saw other people using it. I was like,
It is, yeah.
I said, should I?
And go test one out. You got to go at least try it. It's a much different experience than using a Mac. I was a Mac user myself. Do you have a Mac?
Yes.
I was a Mac user myself, and it's an adjustment. It really is. Changing operating systems, and just even the keyboard is different. But I love my Surface Pro.
Awesome. People, I just got off track, but I had to throw that out there. But since she talked about, I can't believe that they're just like, here's 2 devices in the box and try it out.
Yeah, I know. And keep it.
Yeah, keep it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Microsoft, starting to fall in love with you. You've made this transition. You're doing the work. You see other colleagues in action. You talk to people who are interested in doing this. What makes someone great at it? How will a teacher know if they actually have the skills that would allow them to sort of transition from the classroom to being an actual, for Microsoft learning consultant or a trainer for someone else?
So I think the biggest difference from being a classroom teacher, and it was a huge learning curve for me, and I know with my colleagues coming out of the classroom, it was a big learning curve for them. This job, you do have to do a lot of convincing. And I don't remember having to do that too much in the classroom. Like I was in front of my students, here's what we're doing. You may have to convince 1 or 2 kids to be on track or whatever that is. But they're incentivized by their grades to, be present and listen and whatever it is. And there's not a built-in incentive like that in this job. So it's a lot of patience. It's a lot of convincing. Even though I'm not selling anything, right? I'm not selling software. I'm not selling hardware. I'm selling a service, even though it doesn't cost money, even though it's free. I'm still, why do I want this? Like we already use X, Y, and Z tool. Why should I even take 10 minutes of my time to listen to you tell me about this? And that's been the biggest difference. So if you don't have, innately that, I don't know whether it's a mentality or what, but I didn't think that I did. And coming into this job and being forced into it, I've kind of found my groove with it. So I would encourage anybody to try it. And if it's not for them, go back into the classroom. If that's, where you find that's really your passion, there's no real risk in taking a year and trying something different.
Mm-hmm. So you work with teachers in implementing a multitude of Microsoft education tools. What drew you personally to Microsoft versus, let's say, a Google or Apple has its own sort of Office products? And how do you assist educators in finding their groove? Because, you spoke about convincing, but the thing is, even for my job, it's about, if I know this teacher loves to lecture and they're good at it, I need to find something that would allow their lectures to become bigger and better than before. If I know a teacher is about projects, okay, let's find something to go there. It's always about how can I help them find their groove and not remake them as an educator. Because if I try to go, we're talking about digital and transformation, and the world is this, they shut down.
I know.
But if I can go, okay, I know you're teaching this way, Ms. Johnson, you're nice, you're real cold, you're excellent this way. Mm-hmm. I can make you even better by doing this. So in working with teachers, how do you help them find their groove?
Yeah, exactly what you said. You really do have to do some listening. So you have to do an assessment of who you're talking to, because, and here's the kind of the model that we follow, crawl, walk, run. So where is this person in this crawl, walk, run model in terms of technology? So, there's a wide spectrum, especially with teachers, people that are pretty technology averse and people that love it. They want to learn everything about it. They want to try something new. They want to take a risk in their classroom. So first you have to decide, where are they? So if I come across a runner, for example, I want to show them a really dynamic tool like OneNote and Teams. And so you're a great example. You're one of those people that needed a little convincing. to come away from what you were using before. And you saw OneNote in the training at ISTE, and that's perfect for you because you're thinking about all these uses you could use for this particular tool. So with a runner, I want to make their life easier. Here's the most dynamic tool that I can show you. With a crawler or a walker, I want to have a different conversation with them. So here's a really simple thing that you're able to implement in your classroom tomorrow. So, grading, that's a huge thing. It takes a lot of time. If you want to do it well, it takes a lot of analyzing, right? So what is this data telling me? I have a lot of kids in a low BC. Do we need to reteach? So it's a lot of brain power. If that's the case, I say, have you tried Microsoft Forms? It's really easy to build one. All the analytics are done for you, so you can, at just a glance, see what you need to do. There's reteaching features in there. So if a student gets a question wrong, we can include a YouTube video or include a picture to remind them or jog their memory, reteach, and then they answer the question again. So it's giving the teacher time back, and it's a really simple solution. That's how I have that conversation with them. So it's just going to depend. The biggest thing is listening and being intuitive to that person.
Mm-hmm. Have you run across sort of initial pushback of teachers see you and in their minds, it's like, this person don't know what they're talking about because they're used to people not being educators. And once you say, hey, I've been in your shoes, I've been a classroom teacher, that breaks down the ice.
Definitely, for sure. So when I introduce myself and talk about my background, there's a softening. I think the next thing that I see often is teachers have a lot of questions, and rightfully so. I get a lot of pushback and a lot of challenging. And the thing that I like to do is just offer a solution to them. So one example that sticks out in my mind is I was doing a OneNote training. In this particular training, I had a lot of crawlers and walkers. So this is a very overwhelming thought to them. And just like you said, you want me to totally change the way I do every single thing. Why do I want to invest my time in that? This particular teacher said, I teach special ed. I don't know if my students are going to be able to wrap their brain around something like this. So what I did with her is I showed her a feature called Immersive Reader, which any text, you remember this? Any text that you throw into OneNote, whether it's a PDF, just plain text that you type or copy and paste, hit Immersive Reader and it will read to the student, highlight words, has a picture dictionary. So any struggling reader, this tool is for them. So when I showed her that, then she had a reason, okay, now I have a reason to invest my time here. So it's always about, again, coming back to that, just listening to them, why are they pushing back, and offering a solution that speaks to them.
I love that. When I was sitting there and then I saw the person say, oh, you want to see this? And then you hear the reading and then you say, oh, look at this. We're going to, not only will it highlight in different colors, nouns and verbs, but you'll see an N or a V. I said, ooh, I said, game changer.
It is. That tool is a game changer.
I was just sitting there going like, I'm like, oh, I know I love you, Google, but something is happening here. It was awesome. For many teachers, the thought of leaving K through 12 classroom is tempting. I mean, let's be real. Work long hours. Pay is what it is. I mean, you can't go to your principal next year and say, hey, I need a little more money. And I'm not saying trainers can do that either, but there is no possibility of teachers getting that sort of raise. And they're working very hard. And they have their families and they have dreams and stuff. And when you sit back and you go, man, I need a break or something new, a challenge, exciting, or following my passions here. I know it's tempting because I talk to teachers all the time about what's next. And some of them haven't been teaching. They haven't been in the game a whole long time and they're still thinking about it. but they don't know what opportunities are available to them. I mean, they have their degrees in education, and for them, they're thinking, oh, wow, youth program, higher ed, this. But a lot of them don't think Microsoft. They don't think Google. They don't think Bailey or Kahoot or other companies like that. What was your process like? Like when you were deciding to make that career move? And I know earlier you mentioned how you were looking at different things and nothing quite fit you. But how does someone, I guess, mentally, prepare themselves for that sort of shift? And how does one become a Microsoft Learning Consultant?
Oh man. So in terms of mentally preparing for the shift, I don't know that there's anything that you can do. You don't know what you don't know. And that's it, you know. I guess a quick little story. When I was learning how to swim, my dad carried me over to like the 6 feet and just said, okay, are you ready? And threw me into the pool and I swam, right? And that's it. That's what it's going to be. You just got to go for it. There's no real way to prepare. But in terms of becoming a Microsoft Learning Consultant, if you are interested in working with Microsoft in this education space, and before I say this, I want to say teachers coming out of the classroom, what they don't realize is they have a very specific knowledge and experience that lots of these tech companies are looking for, because each one has a division in education. Education is a huge market, which when I was a teacher, I never thought about that, right? You know, like companies make money off of us. It never crossed my mind. It's a huge market. Not everyone has the skills for it, and no teachers really realize that. So it's something to keep in mind. You are valuable. Your skills are valuable outside of teaching in the classroom. To become working with Microsoft. So the Microsoft Learning Consultants right now, there's only 16 of us in the United States. We have, let me see here, Phoenix, San Diego, LA, Denver, Chicago, Detroit, Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., Orlando, Boston, New York, Philly, and then the Raleigh-Durham area. Those are the markets that we have a learning consultant in right now. What I was telling you offline is I'm really hoping that they expand this program, because just the value added to this market alone is incredible. So I'm hoping that they do expand it, but right now that's not the case. So what I would suggest if you're interested in being with Microsoft is becoming a Microsoft Innovative Educator. What that looks like, classroom teachers right now, what they've done is they've gone onto our education website, which is education.microsoft.com. On that site, there's a couple different things that are amazing. First of all, courses, resources, webinars, learning about, so any of the tools that are in the Microsoft suite, OneNote, Teams, Sway, anything that you can name. But in addition to that, you know, do you want to work on critical thinking with your kids or creativity? Here's some great lesson plans that you can use. And we also do a lot with hacking STEM, you know, and computer programming as well. So there's all those courses on there if you want to learn something new, do something different in your class. Through those courses, you get points and you get badges. And that's how you become a Microsoft Innovative Educator. Moving up the ladder though, so that's kind of the first rung is the MIE. And then after that, you become an MIE expert. And all that is just taking more classes, you know, if you do small trainings at your school. So one of the ways that I came into this job is that's what I did at my old school. I loved OneNote so much. I would stay after and work with teachers to go paperless in their classrooms. So those things count as well. You can count the people that you talk to as people that you train. And then you can become an MIE trainer, an MIE master trainer, and then an MIE fellow. At ISTE, which was, it's a really large conference in Chicago, for those of you that aren't familiar with it. we bring some of our best MIEs, and they get to speak at the booth sessions. I'm not sure if you saw that.
Mm-hmm.
They get to attend all of the events that Microsoft puts on. So the very first night that we were there, the incredible people at Microsoft Education, the vice president of U.S. Education, usually the president of U.S. Education is there, but he couldn't make it this time. All of the program managers, what they do is they put on a little cocktail hour, they give out awards, there's food. So it was a really nice thing that they did. And all the MIEs came to that. There was also a Hack the Classroom event, which we get to see teachers, what they're doing in their classrooms, kind of above and beyond, which was so inspiring. They got to come to that totally for free. So becoming an MIE is a great way to break into this network. It's free to do it. It's not very difficult to do it. It's just a matter of kind of sitting down and learning, which if you're listening to this podcast, obviously it's something that you're interested in. So that's the first step. That's what I would definitely recommend if you're interested in breaking into Microsoft Education.
So what are your top 3 Microsoft tools and why?
Top 3, this is so easy. Number 1 is Sway. I use Sway to do everything. I created a professional portfolio in Sway. I create most of my trainings in Sway. Reason being for the trainings is I can just send out a quick URL link, and the person that, or the people that I train then have a usable resource. They can come back to it after that. You can put videos, pictures, audio, music, text. So it's very dynamic. It's super simple to create a Sway. And it looks like you know how to build a website, right? Sway can look like a website, and that's really impressive too. So just thinking of my professional portfolio as I'm building it, and whenever I decide I want to move up or move on or whatever, I can give that link out, and it looks like I developed this web page. It's beautiful, and it's got a lot of great content on there. So Sway is my number 1. Teams is coming to be my number 2. Teams, for those of you that don't know, is just a digital hub. You can, everything that you use, even if it's outside the Microsoft suite, you can put it into Teams. You can add it as a tab. You can move through websites, but my favorite feature of it is the chat. My colleagues and I, like I said, we don't work. No one else works here in San Diego, so I talk to them almost every single day via Teams. So that makes collaboration with my colleagues easier, more effective. And last is OneNote Class Notebook. OneNote Class Notebook is the thing that I know the most. I would say it's probably I'm most passionate about it. I want teachers to use it because it changes the way that your students are learning. It changes the way that you're teaching, and it has a place in my heart because it's the reason that I'm here in this position today. So that's probably my 3rd.
Love that notebook. As I was watching you do what you do, I was just sitting there going, for those teachers who direct instruction is their thing. And even though, we're trying to sort of break them from doing it all of the time, I was like, this notebook right here works very well with that teacher delivering direct instruction, because they can do so many things, so much in here. And when I saw this bad boy where you go, oh, I'm not putting a link here, I'm putting the video here. I'm putting, this content, it's not going to be a link where you click on and go here. No, it's going to be boom, right here. Student doesn't have to go anywhere. I said, I'm like, Google Classroom, you're in trouble.
I know. It just takes so much of that, the directions that you give, any of the confusion from your students away. So you can spend more time doing what you need to be doing.
Yes. And I love the tabs where you can have, look, this section we're going to do this section we're going to do this section we're going to do that. I was very, very impressed.
I'm so happy to hear that. I am.
Shh, don't tell Google. I don't work for them, no. Before we go, and I've enjoyed hanging out with you, Mallory. What is your call to action for those educators who they're ready? They're thinking about leaving the classroom. They're ready to leave the classroom, and they are looking at different trainer positions. What are some of the things that they should consider before actually applying?
Gosh, things to consider. I mean, that's going to change on a case-by-case basis. But like I said earlier, there's no real risk into making a change for a year, right? If you're established with the school, I know lots of teachers who have done this, have left that school for a few years to do something else, move somewhere else, and have come back, no problem, have their old position, whatever it is. So the risk is pretty low to change it up, try something different. And the worst that can come of it is you learn a new skill, learn something a little bit different, and come back and have that much more to give your students if you don't end up liking it. Some advice that I would give is start networking. Join Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, you are missing out. That's the reason I know you and have been able to be on this podcast several times and meet you in person, which was perfect, right?
Yep.
So Twitter is amazing for the education space. Just the ideas, the collaboration, and the people that you end up meeting, unbelievable. The next thing I would say is any educational conference in your area, you definitely want to go check it out. Sit in on all the sessions, talk to the instructors. There's lots of the big tech companies are usually at most of them, and even some of the smaller tech companies. So, Flipgrid's coming to my mind right now. And granted, Microsoft did just buy Flipgrid, but before that, they were their own company. Or something like Brain Pop, right? There's all these different educational technology tools. Talk to them. Go to the booth. Say, hey, what's your role? How did you get there? Are you guys hiring? What's the process like? So networking and talking to people, I'd say, is probably my best piece of advice to get your foot in the door outside the classroom.
Awesome. Thank you again, Mallory, for coming back on the show.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to chat with you. So I appreciate you inviting me back.
You are welcome. So people, you know how I do this. The video cast will be going up on YouTube. I need you to subscribe, leave your comments. The podcast itself is going up on iTunes and SoundCloud. Follow, subscribe, leave your comments. Your boy's trying to get Oprah on the show, and I want her to know I'm doing it big around here. As always, people, thanks, Mallory. As always, people, invest in you. EDU. Peace.